All right. Chad, how are you doing?
I'm good for this slightly Wednesday, or I should say windy Thursday.
Yes.
Windy Thursday. Love it.
It should be Wednesday today. Anyway, we've got a good episode with a really cool guest. We're going to talk about a bill that's being proposed that will affect a bunch of folks. So
let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Recorded live from Louisville. It's Talk About Town, the Louisville podcast. And now, your hosts, Neal and Chad Hennessy.
Hey, Ron White here. I'm nowhere to be found. You're listening to Talk About Town, like I give a...
All right. Our guest today is Godric Nicodemus, and he's in the real estate world, but he's not an agent. And that's one of the reasons we want to kind of hash out this proposed bill that's going on. But let's get to know you a little bit first.
Okay.
So Godric, you're not from Louisville originally, is that right?
No, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
You like the Tar Heels or something then?
Tar Heels.
Panthers.
Yeah, and Panthers.
All right. Well, this podcast is over. Just kidding.
Well, Colts, I believe.
The Colts are my team.
Yeah.
I feel like in Louisville, there's a bunch of like Steelers and Niners and Cowboys fans like from the 90s and such.
Yeah, I wonder how that went because it's like, all right, Kentucky don't have a professional team, so what's
a lot of times
main?
A lot of times back in the day, I think the Steelers and the 49ers and Cowboys, Packers, whoever it is, it was so good.
Right.
They were always on the broadcast, and so people just gravitated to them.
And that's kind of how I became a Colts fan. It was really like shortly after Manning was drafted that I started being a real dedicated football fan, and we started having the Colts as like our local team every week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Y'all got plans for the Super Bowl this weekend?
I'm going over to my buddy Patrick's house. Shout out Patrick.
All right.
Pretty sure I'm going over to my friend Corey and Kathy's house. So there you go.
Nice.
Awesome.
What about you?
Ex-wife house with my daughter.
Excellent. That's good.
She's living in Radcliffe, like 30 minutes from here.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to some chicken wings and chili, I hope. So.
I think we're Wick's Pizza and Wings.
I may come to your party.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So you are in the real estate world.
Yes.
But what you do is, the best I understand it, is creative financing, essentially.
Right.
So, and I'll give an example. I had a property listed that it just was not selling. And to our listeners, if this gets too jargony or too industry specific, sorry, but it is what it is. I had a house listed and it wasn't moving. And after about 3 months or so, Godric's associate calls me up and we kind of talk, and they were going to give the listing price, but they were going to do it in a little more creative way where the seller would actually carry the note. So it's like seller financing, and that allows him to get 2020 interest rates on loans, and it allows you to not have to pay closing costs, and you get the agent's commission paid.
Right. All in front, not at the end of the term.
Right.
Yep.
And so this kind of purchasing is known as buying something subject to the mortgage.
Yeah, subject to existing mortgage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the seller is still on paper on the hook for the mortgage.
Right.
But you guys pay it, and you actually have a clause in your agreement that says, hey, if we miss a payment, it's your house again.
Right. The performance deed, we write that at the closing table saying, hey, if for some reason I get abducted by aliens, I go missing, or I start making payments, I hire a third-party servicing company, a loan servicing company. They're not here in Louisville. They out in New Mexico and Arizona. But they basically go to my bank, pull out the money that I get from tenants or however I make the money, and they pay it to whoever that needs to get paid off, like the mortgage, the seller, Sometimes there's a third lien, second lien, HOA. So they do all that for me where I don't have to worry about that. But that same servicing company, a seller, a homeowner like your client, if I'm late after 31 days, right, day 31, after 30 days, they can call. They don't have to hunt for me. They don't have to look for me, ask me where I'm at or anything. They can call that servicing company and say, I'd like to execute on the performance day. So
So
they get the deed right back the same day.
Yeah. So the way that the agreement is written, although you're on the hook for the mortgage, and you can show assets coming in to offset that to not necessarily mess up your debt to income ratio.
DTI. Yep. So what we do is like we make an agreement, like a lease agreement, right? A 12-month lease agreement, and it's very. Some lenders I'm still educating them on. Even lenders don't really know how to handle this, but basically we make a 12-month lease agreement, and we pay 3 months up front, so to show that hey, this is a investment property, and here is the money that prove that. And that offset their debt to income from 75 to 100% in the first 6 months, but after 12 months, 100%.
Does the house still remain in the seller's name until it's complete?
No, the deed would be transferred over to me.
Okay.
To my name. And so I got the same benefits, the depreciation, tax benefits, and all that stuff.
Very good.
And then sometimes, and Godric knows this as well, sometimes if the bank finds out, there's an acceleration clause in most mortgages that says, hey, if you sell this thing, you owe us our money.
Yeah, I just released a rail on that. Basically a dual sell acceleration clause because most lenders have it on their basically like their rule book that if you transfer the deed without paying off the mortgage. Now, I always say this, they have the right, not the obligation, right? They got the right, not the obligation, to call the loan due. Most, in my experience, most banks don't do that. And you heard Harry Borders, like Borders from Borders, he done thousands of sub-twos. And he said out of like 3,000, only 2 would call loan due. And that come from like small banks, like very, very small banks. But most banks don't and lenders don't care as long as you're making payments, as long as the mortgage is being performed, because they have their own credit score, you know.
Yeah.
So
if the money's coming
if
in,
the money coming in,
who cares?
They don't really care.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
And then to kind of finish painting the picture, so after you've acquired the property, then you'll rent it out.
Yeah, renting out Airbnb. I'm trying to do what we call a like a co-living. Basically co-living, where like you rent out rooms. Like a single family home that have 4 or 5 bedrooms, maybe more, and you just rent out the room. So also sober living. Also looking to do that with alcohol, people who are addicted to alcohol addiction or abuse women and do sober living. Now I'm going to hire a sober living company and just have them pay me to use the property.
Yeah, because I think it's interesting the way that you rent out the property depends on the property.
Right.
So the one that we were discussing, which I do have it sold now finally.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's out in the East End between 42 and 22. So you're not going to want a sober living house in Green Springs.
No.
But a traveling nurse or something like that, it'd make a great rental for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Godric, do you run into homeowners associations or even like neighborhood communities? Like they'll say, hey, we're not going to allow this, or
no. So all my property's been rentals.
okay.
So I haven't gotten into Airbnb, not yet, but yeah, we'll see how it goes with the sober living and co-living. I know a couple of friends that are already doing that. I'm gonna reach out to them and see what the process.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I have always liked about Godric, and I've known him for probably about 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
Is that he's creative and wants the win-win situation.
Yes.
When he calls me up, they're like, look, we're going to give you all the listed price. You're going to get your side of the commission.
Right.
We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's in contrast to some, I'm not going to say all,
Right.
but some investors who do what people call wholesaling.
Right.
So, and that's what the bill that is in the legislation right now deals with.
Right.
And I guess we got to kind of explain what wholesaling real estate is, because when I was first introduced to it, I was like, wait, what? So there's two ways to do it, essentially. So if you see those yellow "We Buy House" signs,
Absolutely.
that's usually a wholesaler. And we can even use an example. Let's say a seller has a house that, if it was in perfect condition, it'd be worth $200,000. We'll use some round numbers. It's in bad condition though, so it's worth $150,000.
Right.
But he's been paying on it, and he only owes $75,000. Okay, so but he's in trouble. He's gotten behind, or something has happened that he needs to sell quick.
Right.
So rather than selling it to someone who's going to flip it for $150,000, the wholesaler finds him first and says, "Hey, I'll give you $100,000." So now he sells his home for $100,000. He pays off the balance that was $75,000. He walks away with some cash even.
Right.
But the wholesaler is not going to be the one that rents it, because there's still $50,000 worth of equity sitting right in this house.
Right.
So he's going to either assign a contract, which is where he says, "I'll buy it for X amount."
Right.
And then and my assignee is actually the one buying it.
Right.
Or you do a double close where you have the end buyer on one side of you, and you've got the seller on the other side of you. You buy it from the seller for that agreed upon price, and then you sell it to the end buyer right there. I mean, you might own it for 15 minutes and do it this way. And then you sell it to the end buyer, and that $50,000 in equity belongs to the wholesaler.
Yeah. So basically, A to B, B to C process.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the benefit to a seller is that this is typically going to happen quickly.
Yeah.
And the benefit to the wholesaler is he's got a buyer, he's got a seller. He's almost like an agent in some ways, because he's connecting buyers and sellers. And then he facilitates that, walks away with a profit.
Makes sense.
Right. Now, some people see that as a bad thing, and I know some agents and some people have a problem with that, and I kind of get it, but I see wholesale, like, this is why I love real estate, right? There's so many ways to win, and there's so many ways. Well, like, we all have our own part.
Yeah.
You know, you have insurance company, you're a licensor. I look at wholesalers like this. For me, in my early 20s, when I moved out of my mom's house, I had to go through this thing called life, right? Sometimes where I need money to pay a certain bills, what do I do? Even though I have a job, but if I need to pay right there, I need it, I go to a pawn shop. Now, I know that my new iPad I paid like $1,500 for, but I need $500, $600 to have my lights turned on and,
Today.
take care of my family today. So that's what I would say for everybody. I encourage everybody to look at wholesale like that, like a pawn shop, right? Okay. It's because it's fast, and like you say, it's fast and convenient, and they just move on.
Yeah.
That's what wholesalers are waiting for.
So
at the end of the day,
I think where agents run into a little bit of trouble on this, where they say, "Okay, now hold on, it's worth $150,000. I could sell your house that you only owe $75,000 on for $150,000,
right?
And you're gonna pay down your $75,000 balance and walk away with $75,000,
Right?
rather than 25 that, because that 50 was extracted
As they should
by the wholesaler.
Personally, as they should. In my experience, when I first started this business, that's what I was doing, wholesaling. But for me, I like to be like transparent, right? I like to be transparent, because at the end of the day, I believe in karma. If you do something wrong or you do something bad, it's gonna come back to you 10 times.
Yeah.
So I encourage them, hey, have you listed with an agent? Listen with an agent. I actually tell them, listen with an agent first to get the most you can. Only come to me when you
Things not moving.
Yeah, if it's not moving, because I'm a real estate investor. Okay, as an investor, you know, we all know Warren Buffett. What's the investor job to do? Buy low and sell high.
Right.
So as an investor, wholesaler, I'm telling people this is my price. I know it's very, very low. I'm just doing my part in this real estate industry as an investor, because I'm not a nonprofit organization.
Right.
I got to make a profit.
Yeah.
You know,
pay your light bill.
Yeah, but before you come to me, as far as cash, go to a real estate agent and get the most.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think what happens is people that are not above board will go to this fictitious seller and say, "Man, your house is only worth $100,000. I'll buy you out right now."
right.
They don't know that it's actually worth
Yeah.
$150.
So there's some wholesalers out there, and I personally don't believe in doing that. There's some wholesalers where their house is worth $300,000, and they'll tell the homeowner that a house only worth $100,000, and they throw in all type of crazy excuses, talk about your windows or whatever. I don't believe in doing that. I believe in fairness, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, you gotta be fair about it.
I believe in it. Informed consent.
Yeah.
So if you
There
come
you
to
go.
me,
Informed consent.
yeah,
That's a
and
good
you
one.
say it's worth $150, but I'll buy it today, and we'll close in 5 days for $100,000.
That's attractive.
That's fine.
It is
Right.
attractive.
I
to
think
get the money
that's
quick.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. If you tell me the true value,
Right.
but if you hide that, because I would say wholesalers typically don't deal with people that are super sophisticated in the real
No.
estate world.
And it is, I say part of it is YouTube and the internet fault, because they like, oh no, how you like to make no money with no money of your own, and they just, you know, they more of that rah guru. Take action. Don't worry about getting educated all the way. Just take action. Now, and that being said, that's where it get wholesale a bad name, because, you know, the wholesalers are inspired by the gurus on YouTube, and they don't have the intention to hurt someone, but they do it. They are, you know, by saying, "Hey, your house is worth $100,000" when your house is really worth $400,000. You know, so that's something that the gurus are not really teaching. That is giving wholesale a bad name, which is why we are here today to talk about the license, being licensed. And
Yeah. So
I think that's very, to my opinion, I think it's good.
yeah. So it's House Bill. Oh shoot, I had it up yesterday. 265 or something like that. If you look it up, wholesaling real estate, Kentucky legislature,
Right.
you can find it and read the text. But essentially, it wants to say that you cannot broker real estate without a license, which is essentially what wholesalers are doing.
Right.
And I've got a little bit of mixed feelings for sure on it.
What's your feelings about it?
I think the point of licensing in general is to have oversight in those actions that are in the public interest. So the reason I'm licensed is because I'm dealing with a lot of people's biggest asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And we are going to take care to put them in the best position.
Love it.
So as a real estate agent and realtor, I have a fiduciary duty to my client. So if you say to me, "Man, this isn't selling. It's we listed at 200,000. I think we need to go down to 175." If I were to say, "Well, but that's going to reduce my commission a little bit,"
Right.
I'm looking out for me. What a fiduciary does is they look out for their client's interests.
Love it. Like a doctor, like a nurse.
Absolutely.
All the professional
Yeah.
So
services.
are most wholesalers though, they don't have license?
No, not in this state.
Okay.
But it's coming.
Yeah.
I know Illinois. I believe Illinois. Am I saying that right? That state right?
Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. They got a law whether you have to be licensed.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's about it. That's all I know about 2 states. And there's another state, but I forgot.
It looks like it's House Bill 6-2.
Okay.
if
House
you wanna
Bill
look it up.
6-2.
Yep.
So no, as in this state, no license.
Okay.
I saw the post thread the other day because Neal brought it up to me, and I was, as a social media content creator, I'm like, hey, what do y'all think about being licensed? A lot of investors have a problem with this.
Well,
and the
that's-
problem they have with this is, you got to be held to a higher standard. Well, what's wrong with being held to a higher standard? If you have to have morals and ethics to do this business, or you won't last long because then your name going to be spread around. Like especially in Louisville. Louisville is that little big city.
Yeah,
where it's easy. Your name would easy go around.
Yeah.
So,
Quickly it would.
yeah. So it's like, man, to be held to a higher standard is that's the quote unquote per what a lot of investors say the downsides of it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another downside they say about paying fees. How much is it cost you to get your license?
That's a good question. It's been a while now. Several $100s at
Several
least.
hundred, like
Yeah.
$500, $1,000.
Yeah, 500,000
So,
maybe.
Like as a typical wholesaler, if you're a typical wholesaler that do this full time or part time, the average wholesale fee is anywhere between $2,500 to $20,000. That's average. Now, I also say this, like this thing with the license is required to wholesale. I think it's wholesale fault, investor fault, because throughout the years I started this, and it's also what helped me. Like, oh, holy crap! I'm on a wholesale. They post their checks, their 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 checks.
Yep.
On social media, and and the average commissions that agents make is 3 to 6%. Now that's going to raise eyebrows.
Yes.
So my personal opinion, I just put my personal opinion on that topic is I don't see doctors. I feel like us people that are in the real estate industry, if you're in this real estate industry, like you say, with a fiduciary duty to your client, overall, we should be helping people, right? We solve a problem. It's like doctor, they solve a problem. You go in there, you tell them what's wrong, they fix it, surgery. You don't see doctors posting their check. What if doctors post a check on social media?
I know.
I think that's just my opinion.
It makes a lot of sense that is going to raise eyes, and social media spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
Right.
And the wrong person's going to see it.
And if they were
Right.
doing that, then I would say, you know what? I'm going to start doing little outpatient surgeries in my basement.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they were posting those.
I mean, each checks came with, for the most part, each of those big checks came from solving a problem, right? So well deserved, but if you just
Well, I mean, really, it's a whole. It's kind of an economic philosophy where profit is the surplus value that you created for someone,
right,
and if you're taking someone's equity as your profit, you have not added value to them,
right,
that you then take the surplus of. So
Right.
that's
At the same time, I would say a house is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So sometimes, even that's my thing with agents as well. I see a lot of agents like that don't work with investors at all. If you say you're a wholesaler or investor, they don't want to work with you. And the most complaint I got from agent is say, because they will put it on the contract and don't perform. Well, I say, agents do the same thing. That's why I call expired listing. Y'all have expired listing where y'all list it, right? But it doesn't move or anything, and the list is expired. Now, that being said, it's not like y'all intentionally, for the most part, didn't lie to the seller, You just try to help them and put it out there. It just, again, at the end of the day, the market would tell us what that house is worth. So
Godric, I have
Yeah.
a question. How do you go about finding these opportunities? Is there? I mean, is it just word of mouth? Is it?
So me, I'm well. When I first started, is I cold call, door knock, test delinquent, pre foreclosures. Basically anybody with a problem, really look for the problem. Tired landlords, you know. Sometimes I sit on the eviction, go to the courthouse and sit down on evictions, and I would say, "Hey, here's my card. If you looking to sell the house,
If you're done dealing with this headache,
yeah, because I've been doing this business for 4 years, and a lot of people like landlord with the cash flow is attractive, but it's not meant for a lot of people. It's a headache.
We divested from a couple of rental properties recently because it was the headache, and then when the government said, you know what, you don't have to pay your landlord there for a while. We said,
yeah, back in 2020, right?
yeah.
When COVID started.
said,
Yeah,
wait a second, now the numbers aren't working.
Yeah. So, landlord is not for everybody. But again, like I say, real estate investors, for the most part, we are there to solve problems for the most part.
And really, and this is different than an investor that's going to buy it to flip. Because they're not saying you have to be licensed to buy a house.
Right.
Because if that same house is worth $150 and I can put $20,000 into it and sell it for $200, well, then I can go buy it for $150.
Right.
And I don't have to be licensed. It's that middleman that is sort of doing brokering the deal.
Right. Yeah, I think I heard that you have to be licensed. They want you to be licensed too as a fix and flipper.
Really?
Yeah, because you're still doing the same thing. You telling the seller, hey, this is what I'm willing to pay for. And I guess being licensed, right, you have to just, if you decide, I know some realtors that are wholesalers too, and they invest. But something about they have to disclose that they are licensed.
You do.
Yeah.
And also there's a
If
difference.
they don't do that, they just get fined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between being an agent and a realtor. So an agent, you are licensed by the state.
Okay.
A realtor is, you are a member of the board of realtors,
Okay.
which has its own,
Didn't know that.
which runs the MLS and their own ethics and all that stuff too.
Gotcha.
So really, realtors are held to an even higher standard than just an agent.
Okay. So what they are doing right now is wanting people to be an agent, not a realtor.
Correct.
Okay. I mean,
Although the dues to be a realtor are not crazy. Like then you get MLS access and access to a ton
that's what I'm
of data.
saying. Like as an investor, that's why I'm excited about this law that's coming through. I'm working on my license, getting a license right now. I'm
Nice.
studying. As an investor, that would be a good tool on my tool belt because one, I'm an investor and I don't like being biased on certain on a lot of things. I look at it and I like, because I call a lot of sellers homeowners. And I offer cash offer, also offer career finance. About 2 to 5% of the numbers I call will entertain that type of cash offer. The 95% of homeowners that I call, they want to list it with an agent. They want to list it with a realtor. So that 95%, that just basically would add more leads to me. And monetize. If I can buy as a cash offer or I can't do anything creative with you, I can list your house at the end of the day. That's just money in my pocket.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't see why would this be a problem.
Yeah, because that's the one thing is that you have to, if you're an agent, you have to disclose what the real value of their house is.
Right.
As an agent, you're more sophisticated. You have a lot more market knowledge. You can't say, yeah, it's only worth half.
So basically having morals and ethics as everybody should.
Yep. Disclosure,
Right.
honest dealing, fair dealing.
Does it allow for more tracking? You think too? Like, maybe it's not. I hate to use the word like, wild west or something like that. But at the same time, it's like, hey, it's more patterned, and they know that it's these. I'm not sure.
I think so.
Right.
And it's funny, like I'm not a large L libertarian, but I have a lot of tendencies where I'm like, about the government, like just let people do what they're going to do.
Right.
But at the same time, like there was some, I don't remember if it was Vermont or New Hampshire or something. Some libertarians in the town got in power and they started deregulating everything, including how you store your trash. And it was because of bears. So they undo those regulations. Well, now people are getting mauled by bears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So regulation can be a good thing.
Yeah, it can be if it's not too invasive and not overly controlling, I guess.
Right.
But when it's used to look out for the best interests of those that it's meant to help.
Right. There you go. And another benefits I can see being licensed is, sometimes I get out of state leads where they like, hey, I see your social media, I got a house to sell. Well, if I can't do anything with them, right? I believe if you're licensed, if you refer to out of state, other agents, you can get a referral fee.
Yep. Yeah.
Another source of income.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I just,
but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, if someone's doing it the right way, then why would they need to? But I guess it's enough folks are not doing it the right way.
yeah, I think, and this is my personal opinion, I think anybody that is worried about this law coming, right, that don't want to get licensed, they shouldn't be in the business because most likely they doing something unethical or immoral. They are telling the people their house is worth $25,000 when their house is worth $300,000.
Yeah.
And they not disclosing or telling the truth. So
A couple years ago, this woman reached out to me. She had this house. She was out off Dixie Highway. Her house was basically falling apart. She had no income, nothing. But she had some other properties. And I was going to kind of help her, like, okay, well, if we sold this one, if we did that, and we talked for a long time. And she calls me sometime after months of talking, and she says, well, I just signed something with this guy where he's just going to look up the title and stuff on my house and all this. Come to find out, she was under contract to sell. She didn't even know.
Oh, boy.
oh yeah. No,
He was about
that's
to
a
take
big
the title
no-no.
on the home.
It's a big no. I have one. I know one investor. Oh well, I met this one homeowner that was looking to sell, and she went with another buyer, another investor. Well, she thought she was gonna, because they got a closing date. She thought that she gonna be done with that house. The day of closing, the investor backed out because he couldn't find another buyer, right? And she like packed all her stuff in the storage.
Oh, wow.
And she was scheduled to get another house out of state.
And she was going to take, oh,
Right.
boy.
So she called me and said, hey, I'm sleeping on the floor. I moved all my stuff is in the storage. Can you please give me hotel money? So I ended up giving her hotel money. And tell me who this investor is. And I called the investor. I said, hey, Knucklehead, what are you doing? Why did you do this? Turns out he was brand new. He was just brand new to the industry. So I was like, make sure you do your homework, do the numbers. It's all about doing the numbers. Make sure the house is worth what it is. Make sure you know your numbers, because us investors, we got our own numbers to follow in order to sell the property.
Do you generally have something ready to go? I mean, if it's part of your figuring.
Yeah. So basically, if I put something on the contract, that means I did a number. I see how much I can get rent, Airbnb,
Okay.
fix and flip. So if I put something on the contract, it's gonna go.
Gotcha.
And Airbnb is becoming increasingly more difficult as cities kind of crack down on
You're
it.
losing out on tax money on it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a residential area, and people are going there for vacation and party.
Right.
People don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to something recently that's saying people are getting fed up with that kind of stuff, or like charging the cleaning fee, but saying you've got to do all your dishes and strip the sheets and do all that also. It's like, dude, I'm on vacation. I don't want to do all that. And I paid you $200 cleaning fee.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see if that model survives or thrives or dies.
Right.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day of all this, what's your thought about this?
Well, I'm kind of
Okay.
taking it in and, just trying to hear what you both are saying, from a layperson, not necessarily in the real estate industry.
Right.
I do, and we were talking about this, Godric, before we started, that I know people that come in with cash offers to either flip, rent, do whatever they're going to do with it.
Right.
My curiosity and the question I asked you a little bit ago is, how do you, but it sounds, you may end up having a seller find you and say, hey, you probably have people calling you, say, would you be interested in my property, I suppose.
Right.
Or I guess like a Neal, in your example, there's situations where a real estate agent may reach out as well and say, hey, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my main focus is working with real estate agents because most agents, because I'm heavy on creative finance now, the subject to and owner finance, thing is most agents are not aware of this type of transaction. They only know about traditional. Like just go to a bank and just get a loan. That's the only way they know how to do it because I guess it's heavy taught in real estate school. I haven't been to real estate school.
It is. That's the typical process. And if people don't need to learn usually about the other types of things.
Right. I had some realtors and even brokers tell me that sub 2 is illegal. I'm like, no, it's not illegal. It's been done for hundreds a year. And here's my closer attorney, boards and borders, who have done thousands. So my main focus is to, again, I look at myself as not a wholesaler or anything, or I look at myself as a problem solver. So the problem I see right now is with the high interest rates, interest rates is climbing, the market is slowing down, and some people, I'm pretty sure you met some clients, sellers that are married to a number. This is what they want.
Shout out Zillow for their Zestimate.
Yeah. This is what they want. So what I do with subject to and credit finance is for is, hey, we'll give you what you want if you let us buy on terms. How much you want as a down payment, how much of equity you want to collect, how much you want monthly payments, and how long you're willing to go for, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. So it's an excellent tool belt to use to solve problems and let the homeowner just move on. The problem is most realtors and brokers are not aware of this type of transaction. So I had a meeting with Harry Borders yesterday, and he went through my paperwork. I sent him, I brought my paperwork, and he looked at it. He like, yeah, I really don't have anything to change. So this is pretty good.
And to those
I got that from my mentorship.
He's an attorney.
Yeah.
For folks that don't know who Harry Borders is.
Yeah. And he liked the paperwork. So I said, hey, are you against, would it be a bad idea for you to sponsor lunch? All right. I want to do a meetup with brokers and realtors only. And we're going to do it at the Wildwood Country Club. Shameless plug. We're going to do this at
We've plugged a lot of stuff that we're not getting ad dollars for too, by the way.
Right.
We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
Right. But we're going to, so there's a meetup coming up March 9th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Wildwood Country Club for licensed agents, realtors, brokers to come to and learn about creative finance, learn how they can get paid their commissions, and trying to aspire listing a thing in the past.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be hosting that?
I will be hosting that.
Awesome.
Harry Borders will also be speaking as well to talk about the risk, because that's what his thing. He's like, yeah, I've been glad to sponsor lunch and had this meeting with you, but I want to talk about the risk. I'm like, absolutely.
And I think that's important. Risk in the financial world, I think, is something that's overlooked a lot. you get these like new folks that there's this movement of like, well, I pay my rent and then the landlord pays the mortgage with my rent, so I should be an owner. It's like, buddy, you're not holding the risk.
No,
the landlord's holding the risk.
Exactly.
And that's what people forget. So to ignore risk and all of this stuff is a fool's errand. So, props to Harry Borders for saying, I want to talk about the risk.
Yeah.
It's smart of you too.
Yeah.
No, that's something that we like to always promote as well in the podcast is how can our listeners, that have listened to this session, obviously like to learn more, maybe learn more about March 9th and the event. But do you have a webpage? You were talking
I got just social media. I'm trying to be heavy on social media. Godric Lucius Nicodemus, my full name, is spelled out on the YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Well, and you
follow me if you want to know
company
about
too, right?
America's Second Chance.
Yeah.
But I'm getting making a few more LLC for lease option, fish and flip, sober living, all that stuff.
Okay.
But so cool. It's not just America's Second Chance, but I'm just trying to like put my name, out there.
That's
just
smart.
Use my name, like just know me. Like this is my company, Godric Lucius Nicodemus.
Yeah, well, that's smart because I'm at Judah Real Estate Group. Mm-hmm. I don't advertise the brokerage very often. I advertise me. I'm the product.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool. Well, we'll wrap up here, but
it's really interesting.
I would be interested to hear in the comments people's thoughts on this bill. Like, it's now. I was looking at it yesterday. It's like kicked back to committee, so it's not like imminent about to be law or anything.
Right.
But comment on that. Find Godric on social media. So, in the comments there is the email address. If you know somebody who would make a great guest on here, it's interesting things that have to do with our city.
There we go.
Godric, thanks for being here, man. I learned a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for listening. You can reach us at Neal at talkabouttownky.com. Neal is a realtor with Judah Real Estate Group. Chad is a partner at Insure Max. You can reach him at chadh@insuremax.com. Check us out on the web at talkabouttownky.com. Go Cards!